Hey everybody. You ever have one of those times where something completely unrelated to the field makes you think about things that you need in some other area? In this case, I ended up with a pipe that had a pinhole in it. It's a copper pipe. And, honestly, I never would have thought about that, but apparently it's fairly common. And fixing it is fairly straightforward. Temp fixing it anyway, until a plumber can come in or I can take the time to actually cut the pipe and fix it. But it made me think about what are good things to have around the house. Well, let's extend that. What are good things to have if you're a photographer? So let's talk about the must-haves as a photographer. If you're going to be doing a lot of event shooting, right, you're going to want to have a tripod and a monopod. Now, why both? Well, tripods are great if you're doing a portrait. For example, let's say you're doing a wedding, right? You can get the camera put where you want it to be on the tripod, all ready to go, and make sure, another must-have, is that you have it anchored. Now, that may mean that you have sandbags that you've put on the tripod and you're hanging on the tripod to make sure that the tripod doesn't move, because you don't want it to fall down with your thousands of dollars worth of camera on the top of it. You don't want somebody to bump into it and have it fall down. So you want it to be in a secure area if you don't have an assistant and you've got sandbags or something else holding it in place. Now, a lot of tripods have a hook on the bottom for that specific purpose, to put something in place there to help balance out the weight. Having a tripod means that you can now, once you have it framed where you want people to be, now you can go up to them as opposed to yelling at them from the camera and position them where you want them to be, how you want them to look, where you want their faces to be, where you want their eyes to be. You can do it from the camera, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But by having a tripod in place, it allows you to keep resetting the scene without you having to come up with the camera, talk to them, move back, and keep going back and forth. And if it's a noisy venue or something that you're at, or you're outside, it may be more difficult to communicate with people. Get up close and talk to them. So why a monopod? Well, if you're shooting events and you're shooting them on the fly and you're going to be doing a lot of it, remember you're going to bring that camera up and down and up and down. Now, cameras are much, much lighter than they used to be, except for the lens, of course, depending on the type of glass you're using and the magnification that you got on there, it can make it more susceptible to vibration, right? You know this if you use a cell phone camera, right? Put it on 10 times and just breathe and see how much that throws your image off. A monopod lets you quickly and easily set it from one place to the other. It's almost like a walking stick. You can disconnect it from the camera every time you get done. A lot of them have quick release tops to it. You just pop it off and use it as a walking stick till you get to the next spot, pop it right back on there. So you're not walking around with the camera on top of the pod the entire time. Or you can collapse it down, stick it into your strap on your backpack, and walk on to the next spot. But that allows you to get a little bit more, make things a little bit easier on you when you've got to hold the camera up for quite a while. Also, let's go back to the tripods for again. Now, what's the main difference between a monopod and a tripod? You have to hold the monopod, right? Now, some of them have a little flip down on the bottom. I don't trust it. That you can put your foot on and supposedly it's going to hold it in place. Again, don't trust it. If I'm using a monopod, my hand's on the monopod. But the entire point of using a tripod is to not have any vibration whatsoever. So you need to have a remote. Some way to remotely trigger the camera, which also means that you could then put the tripod up, have it anchored into place, start talking to the people, move their eye line, like make them look at you and take pictures of them looking at different things, or say, okay, now everybody look at the bride, click, right? You've got it in your hand. You're out of the shot, but you can just keep going through and getting them to do things. And as you do so, you click it. Most of the remotes that you're going to have today are wireless. There are some wired remotes. Used to have a camera that had one. It was absolutely fantastic for taking outdoor shots of the sky, because I could just put that in place. It had a little screw-in holder. So I could push the shutter down, screw that in, leave it there, walk away in the dark, obviously, and then come back and unscrew that to let the shutter close. And I could get some beautiful night sky photographs using that method because the stars would move, beautiful clear night, camera pointed upwards, and you get these wonderful curved lights from the stars moving as the Earth rotates. So we've talked about so far having to have a remote, having to have a monopod, a tripod, and some way to weight down your tripod. Same goes if you use lighting, indoor or outdoor. You want to have some way of mounting that down, locking that down so that it can't get bumped, right? Even if you bump into it or somebody else bumps into it, it's not going to fall over because you've got the bags of weight on them to hold it in place. Now, again, some of these things are going to be a lot easier if you've got an assistant, because if you have an assistant, they can just stand by the light. But if you've got a couple of lights, still nice to have an assistant who can help you grab those bags and put them down. Lens caps. I have had the issue with the lens cap not clicking into place and not noticing it and then not finding the lens cap. Now they make little stick-ons that are okay. They're not great, but they are something. And you can put that on the lens cap, and it usually has a band of some kind that comes off of it or a string that comes off of it. And you can attach that to your camera so that when you take the cap off, it's still attached to the camera or it's attached to you so that you don't lose it. Now, you might want to use something a little better than the glue that's underneath the little cover on those stick-ons. They can fall off, but I've had pretty good luck with one of the ones that I have. The other one was just kicking around the bottom of the bag. It kept an extra lens cap in the bag with a strap on it, and that one actually came apart. So your mileage may vary on those, and keep an eye on that. And if it's not, use a little crazy glue or something underneath there to make sure that it stays in place. In this case, it wasn't that the sticker came off of the strap. The sticker came off of the lens cap. So make sure your lens caps are, use a little alcohol and everything to wipe it down to make sure it's clean before you try to attach this device in place. And again, you're doing it so that you don't lose your lens cap. Extra batteries, right? We talked about some basic things here, but what about the non-basic stuff? Extra batteries, right? Extra SD cards in case your SD card has a problem. A lot of cameras today, not all of them, but a lot of cameras have a way of you having a backup by having two cards in there. There's a caveat to them. Now, I've got a Canon R5. It has two different types. It's got a normal SD card and it's got a CF Express. If I record video, it only goes to the Express card, not to the SD, because it can't write to the SD card fast enough. Now, CF Express cards have a flaw. They get hot fast. And if you know anything about electronics, having things get heated up too much degrades their performance. So while the SD card will heat up a little bit, it doesn't come anywhere close to what the transfer speeds on a CF Express card transfer at. When you put it into your reader for your computer, just after you've read everything off of it, gently touch the card and you'll see exactly what I mean about the temperature. For me, when I'm done with it in the reader and I eject it, I pull it out of the reader just a little bit and let it sit there and let the heat dissipate in a controlled manner, as opposed to like putting it back in the camera where it's not going to dissipate at all, or the shock of it being touching my fingers directly, not just to my fingers, but a faster cool down to the card. So I try to make that cool down on its own schedule and be a little bit better with that. And then there's the non-photography stuff. Make sure you got water. right? You're going to be outside. Make sure you've got a way to have water. Make sure you've got a way to carry that water, right? Make sure that there's a way for you to stay hydrated, that you can carry the water. Snacks might be a good idea too. Make sure your blood sugar's at the right level, right? Something small that you're carrying around. Just imagine that you're running a marathon, because some of these events are going to be exactly like that. And if you're going to be running a marathon, and with the heat being what it is lately, it's 80 plus degrees here today as I record this, and it's June. Keep in mind what that's going to take. Also, keep in mind that while it's 80 degrees today here, it's supposed to be down in the 40s in a couple of days at night. So keep that in mind. What other things do you need to have with you? Having something to keep your energy level up, especially if it's cold outside and you've got to bundle up, your body's burning a little bit more for that, or you're battling the heat. Make sure you've got ways of keeping yourself hydrated. So what other things would you guys have in your must-haves? We talked about ways of anchoring, lamps, and tripods, remotes to trigger the camera, monopods to help you carry the stuff, having some water, having some food with you. What other things could you think of? And the lens cap protectors and ways of keeping them from going away, and replacements for your memory cards. What other things can you think of? Things like the batteries that we talked about that are the more traditional stuff, like the cards are, to the less traditional stuff, the stuff that you might not think about having in your kit. And when it comes to things like monopods and tripods, monopods don't skimp. Absolutely don't skimp. Tripods, you can get away with some of the less expensive ones. I would recommend against them, having used both. I used a $35 tripod and it worked great for a while. It started to degrade a little bit, especially around the heads. The biggest thing that I noticed was around the heads itself. The legs still popped in and out without any trouble at all, but the heads start to degrade a little bit and the weight of the camera starts to pull down on those. And depending on what you're using for lenses, you want to have a good hold on that thing. The last thing you want to do is be up working with your subject and using the remote and not notice that the lens has started to sag. So that perfectly framed picture that you had is now aimed more at their feet. So keep that in mind as well. So there's certain things you can get away with, certain things you can't. And that includes things like the bags that you use to hold sand to help hold things in place. If you're going to go inexpensive on a bag like that, make sure that you're double bagging things. The reason I say that is the last thing you want to be is at somebody's venue and your bag bursts. And now, not only do you have to take your photographs, but you now have to clean up the space. And that's going to cut into the time of you taking photographs if you don't have an assistant, because you're going to be cleaning up that space, unless they're nice enough to do it for you, and you've lost a bag. But keep that in mind. What other things could you have that would be must-haves? What could you absolutely not be able to do without? And what are the things that are just there for safety, like these bags? Anchoring things down is a purely safety thing. Make sure you don't damage your camera, but more importantly, make sure that doesn't fall on somebody. Make sure your lighting system doesn't fall on the bride, for example, or the camera doesn't fall and smash its lens against the groom's foot. Make sure that you've got everything covered that you need, and make sure that you have your must-haves list. And the other must-have that you must absolutely have, I don't care if you're a drone photographer, I don't care if you're a straight camera photographer, always, always, always have a checklist. And make sure you work that checklist every single time. Now with drones, it's obviously a safety checklist of the drone itself to make sure that everything's working correctly before you put her up. But the same thing here. What are your must-haves? What do you always have to have in that kit put it on the kit. Make sure that you have a fresh copy on there with everything unchecked. And before you pack that kit up, before you get in the car with that kit, open it up, check off every one of those items on that checklist to make sure you got it. And that's what I got for you guys this week. I will talk to you all next week.